Hey guys, it's been some time, but I'm finally back. And they've actually made some changes to Luciel. So as promised, I'm going to go through pretty much everything that was on the Babel post that Tuna translated for us. And we'll see just how good Luciel are now. Hopefully it's good, right? So because each of the Luciels were changed, I'm going to break this down into 4 parts. It's going to be talk about the base Luciel, Catastrophe, Innocence, and finally Diabla. So for base Luciel, Triple Shot was deleted, Strong Strike was deleted, Evil Claw is now obtainable at level 5, Flick Shot is obtainable at level 1, and we also have a new flexibility skill called Help Dodging. Losing Triple Shot is a shame, definitely. We lose out on a Tenacity skill that gives us 3 CP, as well as a damage dealing skill that did roughly like 4000% damage, which is really high for a Tenacity skill. And considering both Catastrophe and Diabla will be converting all magic attacks into physical damage, Triple Shot would have been quite a decent candidate to consider taking into any kind of regular dungeon. So it is quite a shame to lose him. Next is Strong Strike. This might not concern a lot of you because a lot of you might not use this skill, but for me personally, Strong Strike was one of my go-to skills in PvP purely because of the super armor trait you could give it. And a lot of time it has saved me, so again it hurts to see this gone, it really does. In a more general setting though, such as PvE dungeons, Strong Strike wasn't really used at all, so I can understand in that regard why it was deleted. Evil Claw and Flick Shot changing around doesn't really change much. Flick Shot can be used at an earlier level now, which is good I guess, if that's something good to you guys maybe. On the topic of Flick Shot, both Diabla and Catastrophe will get a passive that will convert all magic attacks into physical attacks. So what this means is Flick Shot will be a viable skill to use specifically for damaging on bosses, because it still deals around about 7000% on its own, if it's split into 3 anyway, which is still better than a lot of the other skills that they get later on in their job. And finally we have Help Dodge. Help Dodge is our version of Andromeda, which is going to help us evade and get out of combos in PvP. One of my main hopes for Help Dodge, however, is that I don't want it to switch both Lu and Ciel out with each other if you use the skill. As for the reason why, let's use this scenario. Let's say you're being attacked by any character in the game, and you have enough MP at this point to either Mana Break or use Help Dodge, and you choose to use Help Dodge. So if you switch out characters, then that means the character that you switched out with now has no MP to Mana Break if you were caught afterwards, which immediately puts you at a disadvantage. Now you might be thinking, if I have no MP I can just hop back to the character that I used Help Dodge with, right? Well, if you do that, then you're leaving yourself open to being counterattacked immediately upon using it, because well, you can't move when you use it. But that's enough about base Luciel. Let's talk about Catastrophe, shall we? So for Catastrophe you have quite a lot of changes. For one, Creeping Terror now converts magical attacks into physical attacks. Ruinous Impact doesn't knock down anymore, but the knockdown distance has been decreased. And also the traits have changed from critical to empowered. Dead Hand is now obtainable at level 30 and is now a locked skill. Dark Crescent is now obtainable at level 25. Power of Auriax is now a strength skill. It's no longer locked, and the damage decrease, the movement speed decrease, command and active back attack damage increase, and attacking MP increase has been removed. However, it is now gaining the effect to increase special active damage and increase cooldown time acceleration for all skills, and this lasts 10 seconds, 5 seconds in PvP. For Apollyon, the Terror Absorption effect's maximum stage has been changed from stage 20 to 5. However, the stats have been adjusted accordingly, so now the size and damage are still equal to what it was previously. Communication Amplification has been changed. Your max MP increase is now 100, and the KD reduction value that you have is now reduced from 29% down to 15%. Oblivion has been changed slightly. It now deals additional damage when a certain amount of targets are hit by a summoning attack. Additionally, the enhanced effect has now changed from 20% damage increase to targets required for the additional damage decreased by 1. Dreadlord now has a new strength skill called Darkness Cutter. For Liberated Will Dreadlord, the standby character's MP cost decrease, Dark Elemental resistance increase, light or dark elemental activation increase features have now been removed. The critical and maximize effect has been increased from 7% to 15%. And finally, Demonic Authority. The skill tooltip has been changed slightly, and when Apollyon does not appear as a darkness demon, the combination gauge increase and the cooldown time decrease has been changed to 100% chance, and the skill cooldown time has been decreased from 20% to 10%. That's a lot of points, isn't it? Well, let's talk a little bit more in detail about some of these points. For Power of Auriax, it still keeps a super armor, which is good, but it basically becomes a mod Bloodlust without the HP drain, which is definitely good. We'll have to see how much the cooldown speed increases and how much the special active damage increases to see if it's comparable to losing all of the buffs from before. For Apollyon, it now reaches its max height and max damage only by getting one full stack of Creeping Terror, which is definitely really good, really good. Oblivion gets the Rage Fungus effect, but in the opposite way around. We'll have to see how much enemies we have to hit in order for the additional damage to take place, and if losing the enhanced effects to increase damage was good in exchange for having one target less to activate the additional damage. Awakened Will Dreadlord, we lost basically everything except for the critical and maximize, but they've been increased, but they're still normalized, so it's not that great of a change. It's kind of bad, to be fair. But overall, good buffs all around. Apollion's way more consistent now. Power of Auriax affects all special actives now instead of just Apollyon itself. But Awakened Will is still unchanged and kinda crappy, but it's not the end of the world though. Next up is Innocent. Luckily for you guys, you didn't get as much changed, but these changes are still pretty impactful. So, Soul Collector now has the feature to convert all physical attacks into magical attacks, and Demonic Breath now has been changed from a Tenacity skill into Strength skill. The Communication Restoration passive has had its KD reduction adjusted from 29% to 15%, and Spiritual Enhancement has had its effect changed entirely. You now start dungeons in PvP with a certain amount of collected soul buff stacks. You can also stack collected souls using special actives with a low chance. Noblesse now has a new strength skill called Descent Spear, and Nobility has also been changed. The passive's tooltip has now been separated for both PvP and PvE. The special active skill damage decrease effect has been entirely removed. A new feature has been added to not consume collected soul stacks within certain chance. Additionally, there has been an increased chance to obtain additional combination points, which has been changed from 20% to 50%. In PvP, it's now 25%. And finally, when consuming the combination gauge, all skills cooldown time has now been increased from 0.5 seconds times the amount consumed to 3% times the amount consumed. Liberated Will Noblesse has been given the same treatment that Dreadlord had, but you now have the maximum MP increase on that passive. So to talk briefly about each of these changes, or at least some of them. Demonic Breath, it's finally come back to being a strength skill, like what it was originally. The changes to Spiritual Enhancement are kinda crazy, to be fair. It kinda shafts the Soul Eruption skill, but at the same time, nobody really uses that, except for maybe a couple people in raids, for example. But otherwise, starting dungeons and PvP matches with collected soul buffs already stacked is pretty good in my opinion. The changes to Nobility makes Noblesse a little bit less tanky when it comes to taking skills in PvP. And on top of that, they've improved their neutral game a lot when it comes to gaining more CP. However, making the cooldown times reduced by a percentage instead of a flat number now means that the more cooldown the skill has, the bigger the drop will be, but if it's a shorter cooldown skill, then it won't be anywhere near as long. And of course, Liberated Will, Awakened Will was not touched. Adding the MP increase onto that doesn't make it different, it's still the same thing. Nice try though. And that's the changes for Noblesse, or Innocent, whatever you like to call them. Next up, we have my favourite class, as you all know me for, the Angelian. Right, so for Diabla, we probably got the most changes out of all of the Luciels, which is good. So first up, Chemistry now converts magical attacks into physical attacks. Phantom Rush is now obtainable at level 40 instead of 25, and Bloodlust is now a locked skill. Because of that, Nightmare is now no longer locked, and Altar of Evil has quite a few changes actually. So firstly, we have two new skills that are usable in the Altar of Evil state. These are both called Thorns of Hell and Hell's Gate. and they are both strength and bravery respectively. We can now dash during the jump while in Altar of Evil, and we can now use throwable items while in Altar of Evil. Unfortunately, Phantom Circle has been removed from the game. However, we do have a new tenacity skill called Boomerang Step, and for communication absorption, the maximum MP increase that we gain is now 100 instead of 60. For Invasion of Demonic Energy, we now have a maximization increase. For Sinister Mind, the defense decrease debuff condition has been changed, so it's immediate replied onto an enemy whenever you hit them with the bullet. And Ciel gets the same treatment as Lu. For Transcendence, he gains 2 new skills called Brutal Rush and Genocide Cross. Both of these are strength and bravery respectively. And just like Lu, he can dash while in the air while jumping, and he can also throw items. For Punisher, the skill features have changed. Lu's demonic energy damage has been adjusted. I'm not sure what that could mean. We'll have a new skill called Execution, which is a strength skill. And for Manic Demon Form Destruction, the skill tooltip has changed. On top of all that, Awakened Will Demonio has the exact same changes that both Dreadlord and Noblesse had. However, they have now a natural HP and MP recovery while in the Manic Demon Form state. For Mod Altar of Evil, both Hellgate and Thorns of Hell gain a mod effect as well. And finally, for Codex Gigas, the passive for transforming, we now have a 30% damage mitigation. And that's all the changes for the Angelian. We had a lot of changes, and a lot of new skills. Let's go through them. We get 2 new skills in both Altar of Evil and Transcendence and Mod Altar of Evil. Wait, dude, that's so good. I can't wait to see how these new skills work inside of PvE and PvP as well. It's a shame that Phantom Circle has been deleted, but its effects have been put inside of 2 other passives now. So the maximized effect has been put inside of Evasion of Demonic Energy, and the HP and MP recovery has been put inside of Liberated Will Demonio. But at the same time, it only affects you when you're transformed, which is really unique, to be fair. But at the same time, I'm quite happy with that because, well, the transformations struggle to gain MP because, like, their commands give basically no MP, as I've previously shown before. So any increase to MP while we're in that state is more than welcome. Never in my life did I ever expect them to change Sinister Mind as they did now. This seriously makes me consider like whether I should keep Sinister Mind on or use Flickshot now instead. Because Sinister Mind can reduce defenses by 33%, which is incredibly good. But like, you could just never get to that point before, and Garden of Juarez would constantly be the thing to decrease defense in the game. So it's gonna be hard to decide which one to use, but overall it's a buff that I really like. Honestly, Punisher worries me. I don't know why they're changing it or why Lu's version has been affected, even though both Lu and Ciel's version did the exact same amount of damage. But I suppose time will tell. And finally, the Codex Gigas passive buff, like Jesus Christ, dude, we've been asking for this for so long. Because a lot of the time we transform and then we die because we can't move when we're transformed. And it's just a complete waste of CP, and it's a complete waste of like items and everything. So having a permanent damage reduction, but 30%, which is really high by the way, while we're transformed is ridiculously good at keeping us more tanky as well. Really good change, I freaking love that so much. Overall, I'm happy. I'm incredibly happy, to be honest. We got some pretty decent changes for the Angelian, and I'm just happy. I'm really happy. My only complaint though, of all skills to delete, why didn't you delete Rapid Impact? No, nobody uses it. Nobody will use it. Just delete it. Get rid of it, please. But yeah, that's pretty much everything that I wanted to cover in this video. I didn't expect the reboot to come so quickly in NA, so as soon as the Luciel stuff hits NA, expect me to do a video showcasing all of the commands and how hopefully the combination assault has been changed, and I really hope to God that it's been changed. But yeah, as always, thanks for watching guys, and I'm on Twitch like very often nowadays, so if that's where you're wondering, I mean if you've been wondering where I've been at recently, it's mainly been on Twitch. So if you ever want to look at what I'm doing, just watch me on there. I'll leave a link to my Twitch in the description below. So yeah, again, thanks again for watching, guys. So yeah, I'll see you whenever I see you. Until next time.